Hey guys, I'm here with a Nightmare Corridor guide, and this is just a follow-up, you could say, on the last 2 weeks' guides of Nightmare Corridor. However, for this week, actually, some things have changed, because for now, as free-to-play players, we have access to REM, which makes it different, and also with the release of the new Celestial Hero, it actually shuffles up the formations a bit. So I just wanted to pretty quickly go over my teams, go over a guide, and then tell you guys where the new heroes slot in case you have them built to a efficient point. Now, for me, as you can see here, currently I'm rank 8%. This is probably where I'll stay. Again, I'm pretty happy with my rank with only 2 awakened heroes. It's completely fine with me, and I believe this is my fastest time, so I'll go over the teams that I use. They're pretty similar, if not almost identical to last week, because my REM is not built out enough and I don't have the new Celestial Hypogen hero. So these are the best teams that I could find with my heroes. Obviously, if you have different heroes, there are better teams for you, especially if you have different awakened heroes built. But I'll go over that later in the video real quick. Now, for me, starting out real quick, this is an awakened-less variation of the first round, right? Where usually you would use Thane or Athalia in this round, but if you don't have those two, you can use Lucretia. Now, interestingly enough, Silas here is pretty replaceable. You can use a Daemon, or you can use Anasta if you free up Anasta from the Belinda comp in the last formation, if you have the new Celestial hero. But this is the best team that I found, killing the boss in 1 minute and 2 seconds with the Seal Pet. Now, for the next team here, this is the Scarlet Grace team, Twins. And this was usually the stable team that never really changed. The only change there was in this team was if you had Awakened Baden, he would take Gress's spot. However, with the release of Rem, if you have a very built Rem, and by that I mean she has to be larger than my Rem, and my Rem is a 20 signature item, 30 engraving, no furniture Rem, and she was worse than Gress. But if you have a Rem that's decently built out, you should definitely try slotting in Rem over Gress in this comp, and see if that improves your time. For me, it didn't, but admittedly, my Rem is not very invested in. But if you guys have a bigger Rem, try slotting her into this comp, because it really speeds it up. Now, next up, this is the third comp. I think this comp has been the same ever since the release of the game mode with the Hydra boss. This is pretty much just the best comp, and of course there are changes if you have Anasta open, or if you have Olgath. No, that's not his name. The Hypogen hero with the big gun. But obviously, not a lot of people will have him, because he's kind of a low priority Hypogen hero. Now, here comes the round that's, this round is pretty much what breaks breaks the Nightmare Corridor for most free-to-play players, because you pretty much have to get a Matria Merc if you want a decent time. Now, last week I was able to use this exact team to get like a 37-second time. I look back on my old video. However, I did retry this exact comp that I used last week around 20 times to no avail. So I'm guessing that I just got lucky last time. But nonetheless, this is the best variation that I could use. But obviously, if you have Olgath or the I'm messing around with the names, but the Celestial hero you can get from the Labyrinth shop that you can buy for tokens that slows down time. If you have him, he would replace Brutus, and this would be a whole lot better. For the fifth team, again, another Awakened-less variation. Now, if you had Thane or Awakened Brutus, you could use them instead of Carrasio as your carry unit. For me, I don't, but I'm very happy that Carrasio can replace them somewhat efficiently. But yeah, obviously, if you had Awakened Thane or Awakened Brutus, you would just slot them in here and improve your time a lot. And then for the last team, this is the Belinda team. Now, notably for this Belinda team, if you have already popped your trial version of the new Celestial hero, or if you have her built out, I don't know to what breakpoints, but apparently her signature items is super significant. So maybe getting away with like a mythic with like a 30 signature item, she might be better than Anasta at that point. I haven't tested it out and haven't seen anyone test her out with only her signature items, but just know that if you have her available, she takes Anasta's spot, and if you have her available and if she takes Anasta's spot, you can easily slot in an Asta into this comp, improving this comp's time as well. So that's a little bit of some min-maxing you can do. Now, obviously here I use Vithil. You can also use Vithil in the first comp. Your comp would look something like Mishka, Anasta, Vithil, Lucretia, and then Helios. If you use the Vithil variant, I just wanted to name you guys the Vithil variant for the first comp, because in case you guys are using a Brutus or Thane team in this comp, you could probably free up Vithil because you don't need her damage really. But that's pretty much it for my teams, right? These are my teams. This is my best time. Soon I'll be building my third awakened hero, and that would probably help out my time a lot. But I'm kind of waiting on the next awakened hero to see if they're any good. All right. So now we've looked at my teams. Now I do want to show you guys the guides that I loosely based my teams upon, and I say loosely because these guides aren't super in depth with replacements, so you kind of have to look around a lot to see what's working for other people. I did some poor Photoshop skills to make them fit in one screenshot here. And as you can see, these guys are not, they don't agree on the Merc priority, but I can just tell you guys that if you're a free-to-play player, you want to Merc Matria because that helps your fourth round now significantly. For the first team, as you can see, this is where this guide says to use Awaken Athalia, and I agree, and this guide agrees as well, right? So it's Awaken Athalia. This guide doesn't have replacements, but if you look over here, this uses some different. I tried this out actually when this guide first released, but I think you need a higher invested Mulan for this to be really efficient. For the second team, nothing changes between these two guides. However, this is where obviously Rem is now the new best in slot if you have her built out instead of Awakened Baden and Grisul. And now for the third team, they agree and I agree. This is just the team, right? There's nothing to discuss really. This is just a locked team. Interestingly enough, it does list the Leica sub for Awakened Soulless, and that actually allows you to run a Soulless comp that I showed you guys last week in the fourth spot. If you don't have Awakened Matria, so you can go check out that video. I can't remember the comp I used on the top of my head. But yeah, obviously otherwise it's just the Matria or the Kren comp. And these two guides agrees. And then for the next one, it's either Awakened Thane or Awakened Brutus, depending on who you have built. I believe Thane is better than Brutus, as this guy states as well, but obviously both work. And if you don't have either of those, you can slot in Carasio and make it work. And then for the last team, this is the Belinda team, right? And this is where today, or not today, but this week, there's a new replacement for Anasta because the new Celestial Hybrid, the new Celestial hero is better than Anasta for this comp. So if you have her trial version, slot her in, and that's pretty much it for your teams, right? So again, just a short guide, right? Nothing really changed too much. My formations didn't change all that much. I'm looking forward to the next rotation for the Nightmare Corridor soon, where we get a new boss, and also I'm very interested in what happens to Awakened Athalia when this boss, the Dune Destroyer rotates out. Whether she becomes the new meta in the new boss that releases in the 6th slot now, or if she falls out due to something else. And that's kind of what I'm holding out on, because I did want to build Awakened Athalia, but if if the new boss releases and this one rotates out and she's no longer meta, the main reason I wanted to build her is because she's super strong in Treasure Scramble, and she's also super strong in Nightmare Corridor, and not really relevant at all in Cursed Realm, right? But if she falls out of the meta of Nightmare Corridor, she becomes a super niche PvP hero, and at that point, there's no reason for me to build her. But that does it for this guide. Again, it's just a quick follow-up video on my last two guides. If you want a more in-depth video on this round of the Nightmare Corridor, I highly suggest you check out the very first guide I made on this Nightmare Corridor. I believe it's like 20 minutes long, and on the follow-up guide, there's a Awakened Soulless formation in round 4, and that's pretty much the TLDR. But I hope you guys can improve your Nightmare Corridor teams. I'm going back to playing Diablo 4 now, so you guys take care, hey?